Hi and welcome. Today I am so very excited to be showing y'all my mostly finished kind of antique farmhouse style kitchen. So I say mostly because there are a few little things that I'd like to tweak and other areas of the kitchen that are not completely finished, but most of the major things are done, and I'm so excited to be able to have enough done, pulled together to be able to do this video today. And I also want to say, just really quick, thank you so much to everyone who watches and comments and subscribes and shares my videos and all that. It's so extremely helpful for the whole YouTube algorithms and all that stuff. So I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate when you just take a few little seconds to do those things. It means a lot to me because I definitely could not be doing this without people watching my videos. So it really does. It means the world to me that you have taken time out of your day to come see, look into my day. This project has literally been going on for years. I've done all the work myself, so that's why it's taken so long. I started painting my cabinets in June of 2019. I got my stove in July of 2019. I found it on Facebook Marketplace and we drove to Texas to pick it up. And then I got my first sink, not actually this one, a different one, in September of 2019. So all this started in 2019 and it's finally done. And so this actually started out as I want to paint my cabinets because this is what the cabinets looked like before. They were actually really pretty cabinets. They just weren't my style. And I like the wood. I just don't like the tone of the wood that they were. I'm not a fan of the orange wood tone at all. And like I said, they were really nice cabinets, not my style. I actually had a lot of people try to convince me not to paint them. Eric even, it took me a long time. We got married in 2016 and it took me until 2019 to convince him that I needed to paint the cabinets. And finally he said, you know what, it's your kitchen, you can do whatever you want to with it. And that was all he had to say. He didn't have to tell me twice either. I took it and ran with it. And I'm so glad that he finally came to the realization that this was my kitchen. So I started with painting the cabinets. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, white, it's so hard to keep clean. And yeah, you do have to wipe them down, but here's the thing about white cabinets. If you actually want your cabinets to be clean, you should paint them white. If you want to just not see the dirt and they appear clean, get wood or paint them something like brown, because my cabinets I had before, I did not realize how incredibly filthy they were until I started trying to clean them to paint them. They were disgusting. And these cabinets, like, when you see them when they get dirty. So when they get fingerprints smudged on them, or if I drip something down the front of them, go wipe it off and they're clean again. So everybody says, oh, I live on a farm, I could never keep them clean. Well, I have a very greasy husband. He works on cars and trucks and tractors and four-wheelers, so he comes in covered in grease all the time. 3-year-old, you know how that is. So like, it gets dirty, trust me. But they're actually way easier to keep clean than wood cabinets, in my personal humble opinion. So for the hardware, I ended up just painting my hardware instead of buying new because everything was done with as small of a budget as possible. We didn't even have a budget to be doing any of this stuff, so I was doing it as cheaply as I possibly could. So if I could use something and just make it look new, that's what I did. So I took all the hardware off the cabinets, spray painted them black, and they were a antique brass before. So even though some of the places, like, it's starting to wear off, it doesn't bother me because it blends well enough. Like if they were stainless before and the paint was rubbing off, that would not be very good. I'd be having to constantly paint them. But I'm totally fine with the way it looks because it has kind of that antique aged look to it. So I like it. So those were the first things that I did. And then as far as the countertop, I really wanted to replace it because it was this yellowish Formica that went up the back. It had like the backsplash all in one piece. It But we started looking into the options for replacing it, and it was just way out of our budget. There was no way that we could do that. So I decided to try painting them, and it has turned out okay. It's not something I would recommend if you're a perfectionist, because like the paint has stained. There's some spots on it, and it does kind of chip off some, like on the corners, which, like I said, I am not a super perfectionist, so I'm fine with it. It doesn't really bother me because it looks 1,000 times better in this kitchen than those yellow Formica countertops would have. So I'm fine with it, I'm happy with it, and if I need to, I just go and put another coat of paint on it and it's fine. So that's that. But like I said, if you're a perfectionist, don't paint your countertops. And it actually has held up really well. I will say, if you do decide to go that route, sand them a little bit and then put a coat of primer and put a coat of paint. I think I did 3 coats of paint maybe. And it really hasn't scratched off. The only places that it has is like if something, when we were putting the sink in, for instance, when he was taking the other one out, it kind of slid across the counter and scraped off where it slid. But overall it has held up extremely well. Next, the backsplash. I tried to come up with something. Finally decided to go for beadboard, and I'm so glad I did. It adds like this perfect antique lived-in farmhouse feel. I really couldn't be happier with the way the backsplash came out. I really love it. And actually it's just on top of the Formica, so I didn't cut anything, I didn't take anything out. This is just on top of the Formica, and then obviously around the window and everything. But I love the way it came out. And I finished the backsplash. Like, I did this. Eric, you know, he helped me here and there, but pretty much this was all my projects. I finished it literally 2 days before I went into labor with James, the baby, who is now 8 months old. But yeah, so Mama said that my body was just holding out until I finished it, because I was racing against time trying to get it finished. I wanted to finish it so bad, because I knew that once the baby was born, I was going to lose all motivation to work in my kitchen, which I did. And then of course the sink, and I found this one. It was quite a dramatic story, because we went and looked at it. I didn't get it because it seemed like it wasn't going to clean up, and then I decided I wanted it, and I called the guy back and tried to go get it, and he said it had sold already. I was so upset. And then Christmas comes, and Eric pulls up to the house in the tractor with this big huge cast iron sink hanging from the front end loader, and it was this thing. He had gone and bought it, and that's why it was sold when I went to go buy it. So anyway, that was a really sweet surprise that he did for me. I absolutely love this sink. It's a cast iron. I need to research and figure out exactly what years. I'm not exactly sure, but I love it so much. It's a high back sink, and we actually had to change a lot of things because the water pipes go up in a different place. Thankfully my husband can do all that stuff. I'm so glad, because I would have been lost. We got a really nice Kingston brass antique style faucet for it, which I really love. But I love it so much we can put dishes on both sides of the drain, because the world knows I'm not the best dishwasher, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And then it was my mom's brilliant idea to put this chandelier in the window. I knew I wanted to change the light, but I had no idea what I wanted to put there. And I think the chandelier just really makes the whole area, it's fine. Like, I just love the chandelier. I'm so glad she came up with that idea. And it's a really beautiful antique chandelier. She found it at an antique store somewhere. She has kind of an antique chandelier fetish. She's always buying these antique chandeliers, and she finds the best deals on them. I don't know how she does it. And also, I took off the 2 cabinet doors under the sink. I love the look of having a curtain instead of cabinet doors. It just adds a lot of coziness to have that fabric texture there. More of a lived-in, welcoming kind of feel, I think. So I did that, and then I'll actually have plans to kind of change it out with the seasons, do a maybe red tone one for Christmas time, a more you know, florally one for summer. And so the stove. The stove, I have wanted an antique gas stove ever since I lived at home, because I grew up with an antique gas stove. The house I grew up in was built in like the 1890s, somewhere around there. And the stove that I learned to cook on and grew up seeing my mom cook on was actually in the house when they bought it. So not original to the house, but they at some point upgraded to this gas stove. And so I've wanted an antique gas stove for as long as I can remember, literally. Finally convinced Eric, because he was very anti-gas. So I finally convinced him that I needed this antique gas stove. Found one. We drove to Texas to get it. We didn't have gas here, so we had to have a gas tank installed and all the gas line put in, and it was 100% worth it. I kept telling him, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. And he didn't believe me, but he does. He's like, yeah, you're right, I do like it. So anyway, gas stove, and I actually took it completely apart, took all the valves apart, I cleaned them. I had to do a lot of work to it to really get it working properly, but it was 100% worth it because I love the stove. It's the other focal point of the kitchen, and something that I just feel like, you know, it's kind of like a dream for me to have these, like this old sink and this old stove. And I'm gonna stop right here and say, like, my vision for this kitchen is a antique, like authentic farmhouse look. And you know, it's not perfect because I had to work with what I had. I couldn't just rip out stuff and rebuild it and all that stuff. I didn't have the budget for it. But just to have that really cozy, homey, antique farmhouse feel, that's what I was going for. So the sink and the stove and the wood, the baskets, I feel like all just adds to that. And then my island is very special to me. My dad built it for me. He got this old barn door. This is actually a barn door with the hinges still on it and everything. And he built this island for me. So it means a lot, for sure. And the color of the wood, see, this is the kind of wood tone that I like. Not that orangey wood tone, but like a dark, old, can you tell I like old things? Wood tone. And then this garbage can I got from one of the barn sales we went to. If you have watched any of our barn sale videos, you will see lots of things that you recognize. The dish drain I got from one, the basket I got from one, the garbage can came from one, the blue bowl came from one. Actually, this runner came from one. I'm trying to think, like all of the stuff on my counter pretty much has come from a barn sale. But the garbage can has worked out perfectly. And then my dad, for Christmas, made me this lid for it that matches my island. He's amazing. He can make anything. So I love that. And then the last kind of thing that I did is I made this muffin pan wall. I love my muffin pan wall, and I've been collecting these things. I might have even started collecting them before I got married. So I've been collecting these for a long time, and just love the way they came out. So thank you for joining today to see my antique farmhouse kitchen. I really love the way it came out, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. And I'm sure you'll be seeing lots of it now that it is complete enough to actually show. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.